My simple smart lock installation turned into an all-out war when my HOA neighbor Barbara started stalking my property and calling 911 over safety concerns. But her obsession with controlling our neighborhood led to her ultimate downfall. What would you do if your neighbor called the police 17 times in one day, just to try to get into your house? Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe if you want more Karen and HOA stories. I never thought installing a smart lock on my gate would lead to the craziest battle of my life. But here we are. You see, I work late shifts at the hospital, and after my Amazon packages kept disappearing, I decided to upgrade my home security. The smart lock seemed perfect. I could give temporary codes to delivery people and check who was trying to get in from my phone. Little did I know this simple decision would make my neighbor Barbara lose her mind. Let me back up a bit. I've lived in Oak Ridge Estates for 3 years, and everything was pretty normal until last month. Sure, our HOA had strict rules, but I always followed them. Paint colors? Got approval. Holiday decorations? Took them down on time. Trash cans? Never left them out past 6 p.m. I was the model resident, or so I thought. The day I installed my sleek black smart lock, I noticed Barbara Wellington standing at the edge of my driveway, her iPad raised like a shield. I waved, trying to be friendly, but she just squinted and tapped her screen. Barbara had lived here for 15 years and somehow appointed herself as the unofficial neighborhood watch captain, a title she mentioned at least twice in every conversation. That evening, my phone buzzed with notifications from our neighborhood Facebook group. Barbara had posted 3 close-up photos of my new lock, writing in all caps, "Attention residents. Has anyone else noticed this? Modern eyesore on Maple Drive? This type of tech invasion is destroying our community's charm." The comments section exploded with different opinions, but Barbara kept adding fuel to the fire. What if hackers get in? What if it malfunctions during an emergency? What if it gives access codes to criminals? I politely commented with links to safety ratings and HOA bylaws showing no rules against smart locks. Big mistake. The next morning, I was getting ready for work when my phone alerted me. Gate access attempted. Through my security camera, I watched Barbara march up to my gate in her pink tracksuit, yanking the handle 3 times before stepping back to take more pictures. This became her new morning routine. Every day between 8:15 and 8:45 a.m., she'd try my gate, take photos, and write down notes in a little red notebook. I started keeping a log of every incident, saving every security clip, because something told me I'd need proof later. The situation got weirder when I caught her giving a tour to other neighbors, pointing at my lock like it was evidence in a crime scene. "You see?" I overheard her saying. "This is exactly what we talked about at the last HOA meeting. First it's smart locks, then it's Ring doorbells, and before you know it, our beautiful traditional neighborhood will look like a tech startup campus." I tried reasoning with her, left a friendly note explaining the safety features, offered to show her how it worked, even baked my famous chocolate chip cookies as a peace offering. But Barbara wasn't interested in understanding. She was interested in control. The final straw came when I found her coaching her grandson to climb over my fence, just to test if someone could break in. I ran outside just in time to stop them, and that's when Barbara showed her true colors. She jabbed her finger in my face and hissed, "Mark my words, that lock is coming down one way or another. I've protected this neighborhood's values for 15 years, and I'm not about to let some millennial with their fancy gadgets ruin everything we've built." I stood there watching her storm off and realized this wasn't about a lock anymore. This was about power, control, and one person's refusal to accept change. My phone buzzed again, another gate access attempt, but this time something was different. The notification showed that Barbara had been there for 10 minutes, and she wasn't alone. Looking through my front window, I saw her talking to someone in an official-looking uniform. My heart started racing as I grabbed my phone to check the live feed. What exactly was Barbara up to, and who had she brought to my house this time? I knew something was wrong when my phone buzzed nonstop at 6 a.m. With notifications from our neighborhood Facebook group. Barbara Wellington had spent the entire night writing a novel-length post about my illegal modern eyesore, complete with zoomed-in photos of my new smart lock from every possible angle. She even included pictures of herself measuring my gate with a bright, yellow tape measure in the dark. Time-stamped 3:47 a.m. The comments section exploded. Most neighbors stayed quiet, but Barbara's 3 best friends from her weekly wine club jumped in to support her crusade. Linda Thompson wrote, "This is exactly what happened in my cousin's neighborhood, before all the break-ins started." Susan Parker added, "What's next? Robot guards patrolling our streets." Margaret Wilson just posted angry face emojis on everything. I took a deep breath and wrote a calm response, explaining that smart locks were becoming common in high-end neighborhoods like ours and actually improve security. I attached links to the HOA bylaws showing nothing prohibited them. Barbara replied within seconds. I've lived here for 15 years and I know what's best for this community. That afternoon, while working from home, I heard a weird clicking sound from my gate. My security camera pinged, showing Barbara jabbing at my smart lock with a pencil. I opened my front door and asked her what she was doing. She jumped back like she'd been caught stealing cookies, then puffed up her chest and said, I'm conducting a safety inspection. These digital locks can interfere with emergency responders. I explained that emergency services actually preferred smart locks because they could be given special access codes. Barbara stormed off, but that was just the beginning. Every hour, my phone would buzz with a new notification. Barbara would walk by, try the gate handle, peer through the bars, and take more pictures. By lunch, I had 12 recordings of her inspections. The situation got weirder when I checked my mailbox. Inside was a stack of printouts, news articles about smart lock hacking from 2010, a handwritten list of local burglaries from different neighborhoods, and, most bizarrely, a pamphlet about the dangers of 5G networks. All of it was highlighted in neon yellow with "Think of the Children" scrawled across the top in Barbara's unmistakable perfect cursive. Around 3 p.m., I spotted her leading a group of elderly neighbors on what she called a security awareness walk past my house. She pointed at my gate like a tour guide, saying, "And here we have Exhibit A of the modernization threatening our property values." Some nodded along, but I noticed Mrs. Chen rolling her eyes and quietly breaking away from the group. Later, Mrs. Chen slipped a note under my door. Barbara did the same thing to me last year when I installed solar panels. Stay strong. It felt good knowing I wasn't alone, but I worried what Barbara might do next. She'd already posted my address in 3 different Facebook groups warning about suspicious tech activity in upscale neighborhoods. That evening, I was working in my home office when I heard a power drill outside. I rushed to my security camera feed and couldn't believe what I saw. Barbara was attempting to mount a giant notice of violation sign on my front gate post on my property. I grabbed my phone to record and walked outside. The moment she saw me, she dropped the drill, which nearly hit her foot. She snatched up her sign and speed-walked away, calling over her shoulder, "You'll be hearing from the board about this." I spent that night reviewing my security footage and documenting every incident. 17 gate checks, 4 inspection tours, 1 attempted vandalism. As I compiled everything into a folder, my phone buzzed again. Barbara had just posted in the neighborhood group, "Emergency HOA meeting tomorrow. Agenda: discussion of unauthorized security modifications and their threat to community safety." Little did Barbara know, but her obsession with my smart lock was about to backfire in a way none of us could have predicted. I clicked save on my footage folder and reached for my phone. It was time to make some calls. My heart nearly stopped when my phone lit up with emergency alerts during an important work meeting. 17 notifications from my security system, 3 voicemails and a text from my neighbor Jennifer saying, "Police are at your house right now." I grabbed my keys and ran out of the conference room, not even bothering to explain to my boss. My hands shook as I called Jennifer while speeding home. "Barbara called 911, she said, her voice shaking with anger. She told them she heard screaming from inside. "Your house but couldn't get in to help because of your illegal smart lock." I pressed harder on the gas pedal, my mind racing with horrible thoughts. The 20-minute drive felt like hours. As I turned onto my street, my stomach dropped. 3 police cars with flashing lights were parked in my driveway. A small crowd of neighbors had gathered, and there was Barbara, standing on her front porch in her signature pink tracksuit, filming everything with her iPad. 2 officers were inspecting my gate while another talked into his radio. I pulled up and jumped out of my car, my heart pounding. "This is my house. I'm the owner!" I shouted, running toward them with my hands visible. The lead officer, whose nameplate read Rodriguez, turned to me with a look of growing frustration, but not at me. "Sir, we got a call about possible distress inside your home. Are you alone here?" "Yes," I said, catching my breath. "I live alone. I was at work until my security system sent me alerts." I pulled out my phone, showing him the stream of notifications from Barbara testing my gate. This has been happening all day. Officer Rodriguez's partner was already reviewing my security footage on their laptop. The camera had caught Barbara's performance perfectly. Her exaggerated attempts to save someone by yanking on my gate, her loud declarations about hearing screams, and finally, her 911 call made while standing in my flowers. "Ma'am," Officer Rodriguez called out to Barbara, who was still recording, "please come down here." As she strutted over, I noticed Jennifer had started recording too. Smart woman. "Thank goodness you're here," Barbara began, her voice dripping with fake concern. "I've been trying to warn everyone about this suspicious lock. It's not approved by the HOA, and today I distinctly heard, "Ma'am," Officer Rodriguez cut her off. "Are you aware that making false reports to emergency services is a crime in this state?" Barbara's face went from concerned citizen to shocked victim in a second. "False, but I heard our officers have been here 3 times this month because of your calls," he continued. "We've reviewed the security footage. You've attempted to enter this property 17 times today alone." Barbara's iPad lowered slightly. "I'm the HOA watch captain. It's your responsibility to stay off private property," Officer Rodriguez's partner chimed in. "Watch captain isn't a real authority position, ma'am." I pulled up the cease and desist letter my lawyer had sent Barbara last week. "I have documentation of asking her to stay away from my property," I said, watching Barbara's face turn from pink to red. The officers took statements from everyone, including Jennifer, who showed them her own security footage of Barbara's activities. As they wrote up their report, Barbara stormed back to her house, slamming her front door so hard her seasonal wreath fell off. But I knew this wasn't over. As the police left and the neighbors dispersed, I caught Barbara peeking through her curtains, her iPad still recording. She'd just been humiliated in front of the whole street. And if there's one thing I'd learned about Barbara Wellington in the past month, it was that she never let anything go. I looked down at my phone as another notification popped up. "Motion detected, front gate." On my screen, I watched Barbara marching toward my house again, this time clutching a thick binder I recognized as the HOA rulebook. The real war was about to begin. I was shaking with anger as I walked into my home office, but I knew I had to stay calm and smart about this. Barbara had just made a huge mistake by calling 911, and I wasn't about to let this chance slip away. My hands trembled as I downloaded all the security footage from the past month, showing her countless attempts to get through my gate. The timestamps didn't lie. She had tried to enter my property 342 times in just 3 weeks. My neighbor Mike texted me saying Barbara was already bragging to everyone about how she had to call the police on the troublemaker with the dangerous gate. That's when I knew I needed more than just the HOA board to solve this. I called my cousin Sarah, who happened to be a real estate lawyer, and sent her everything I had gathered. "This is straight-up harassment," Sarah said after reviewing the footage. "And that 911 call? That's misuse of emergency services. We can work with this." I spent the next 3 days building my case. I printed out every nasty Facebook post Barbara had made about my gate. I gathered screenshots of her comments, telling other neighbors to watch out for that suspicious smart lock. I even had a recording of her yelling at the mail carrier for using my gate's keypad to deliver a package. The HOA board meeting was set for Thursday evening. I watched Barbara strut in wearing her usual pearls and perfect hair, shooting me that fake smile she always used. Little did she know what was coming. When it was my turn to speak, I laid out everything. The security footage playing on my laptop showed Barbara circling my house like a shark. The police report from her fake emergency call was printed in color, with every important part highlighted. I even had statements from 3 different neighbors about her obsession with my property. "This isn't about a smart lock anymore," I told the board. "This is about harassment and creating false emergencies. Do you really want to be liable when one of your board members is clearly breaking the law?" I thought I had them. Their faces showed concern as they looked through my evidence. But then Barbara started crying, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "I was just trying to protect our beautiful neighborhood," she sobbed. "These modern gadgets are ruining our property values, and I was worried someone might be hurt that day." I watched in disbelief as the board members' faces softened. They had known Barbara for years. She hosted their Christmas parties. Her husband played golf with the board president. They wanted to believe her. The board president cleared his throat. "Perhaps we can reach a compromise. Maybe a different type of lock?" That's when I pulled out my final piece of evidence. "Before we discuss compromises, you should know that my lawyer has already sent certified letters documenting all of this harassment. Every board member here is now officially notified of Barbara's behavior. If anything happens to my property, or if she keeps trespassing, you'll all be named in the lawsuit." The room went silent. Barbara's face turned red. The board president dropped his pen. "And one more thing," I added, pulling out a stack of papers. "I did some research. Our HOA bylaws require board members to maintain exemplary standing in the community. I'd say false 911 calls and documented harassment break that rule. So I'm officially requesting Barbara's removal from the board, as is my right under Section 7.3. Barbara jumped up, pointing her finger at me. "You can't do this! I've been on this board for 15 years. I made this neighborhood what it is." I stayed perfectly calm, which only seemed to make her angrier. "Actually, I can. And I have copies of everything for each board member to review. I suggest you read them carefully." As I walked out of that meeting, I heard Barbara's shrill voice echoing behind me. But for the first time since this whole thing started, I wasn't worried. I had done everything by the book. Now the board had a choice to make: stand by their friend and face the consequences, or finally do the right thing. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer, another board member. Emergency meeting called for tomorrow. You won't believe what Barbara's been doing to other people too. I thought Barbara's 911 call would be her worst move, but I had no idea what she was about to do next. The morning after I sent those legal letters, I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop with text messages from my neighbors. Barbara had gone on a full rampage through the neighborhood, and I was her main target. She must have stayed up all night writing violation notices, because my mailbox was stuffed with 15 different HOA citations. The claims were so ridiculous that I actually started laughing while reading them. According to Barbara, my birds were having unauthorized gatherings at my feeder. My garden gnome was 3 inches too tall, and my wind chimes were creating noise pollution. But what she did next made my blood boil. I caught her on my security camera at 5:30 a.m., measuring my grass with a ruler and taking close-up photos of my house from every angle. When my sprinklers turned on as scheduled, she screamed so loud it woke up half the street. Instead of just walking away, she stood there getting soaked while recording a video on her iPad, yelling about how I was assaulting her with water. That's when something unexpected happened. My neighbor Sarah from 2 houses down came running over in her bathrobe. At first, I thought she was coming to help Barbara, but instead, she pulled out her own phone and showed me dozens of videos. For the past 6 months, Barbara had been terrorizing her too. The videos showed Barbara climbing on Sarah's kids' playground set with a measuring tape, claiming it was 2 feet taller than regulation height. While we were talking, Mike from across the street joined us with his own horror stories. He'd caught Barbara pressing her face against his living room window at night, claiming she was inspecting for unauthorized curtain materials. Then Lisa from the corner house came over and told us how Barbara had been photographing her teenage daughter's car every morning, reporting her for incorrect parking angle violations. But the craziest part? Barbara had actually created a detailed spreadsheet of everyone's daily routines. We found it posted on the neighborhood Facebook group, where she'd been tracking when we left for work, when our kids played outside, and even when we turned our lights on and off. She called it her neighborhood compliance monitor, but it was really just a creepy surveillance log. I decided to dig deeper into the HOA rules she kept quoting. Turns out, Barbara had been making up fake regulations for years. The official HOA handbook she kept waving around? It was her own edited version with dozens of made-up rules added in. When I compared it to my original copy from when I bought my house, the differences were shocking. The real game changer came when elderly Mrs. Chen from the end of the street shared her story. Barbara had been charging her extra international resident fees for 5 years, claiming it was an HOA requirement. Mrs. Chen had been paying an extra $200 every month, afraid she'd lose her house if she didn't. That was straight-up fraud. Each new story made my smart lock drama seem smaller and smaller. This wasn't just about my gate anymore. Barbara had been slowly taking over the neighborhood like a dictator, using fear and fake rules to control everyone. But she made one huge mistake. Her obsession with my smart lock had finally pushed everyone to start talking to each other. As more neighbors came forward, we started a group chat to share evidence. Videos, photos, fake violation notices, illegal fines. It was like putting together pieces of a puzzle that showed years of harassment. Even Barbara's own daughter reached out to apologize, telling us her mom had been kicked off 3 other HOA boards in different neighborhoods for similar behavior. Just when we thought we'd heard it all, Barbara made her biggest mistake yet. She announced a special HOA meeting to vote on banning all unauthorized electronics from the neighborhood. But as she stood there presenting her wild new rules, she didn't notice that half the room was recording her every word. What happened next would change our neighborhood forever. The morning of the HOA election felt different. As I walked to my mailbox, neighbors who had never spoken to me before waved and smiled. Barbara stood on her porch in her signature pink robe, clutching her iPad like a shield. She was already taking pictures of everyone, arriving at the community center for the vote. I had spent weeks gathering evidence and quietly talking to neighbors. Sarah shared her video of Barbara measuring grass at dawn. Mike had footage of her pressing her face against his windows to check his curtain colors. The Torres family even caught her going through their recycling bin to make sure they were sorting correctly. Each story made my blood boil more than the last. The community center was packed, the biggest turnout for an HOA meeting in our neighborhood's history. Barbara marched in with her usual group of supporters, but something was off. Her friends weren't sitting with her anymore. They had finally seen her true colors after she tried to get the board to ban All security cameras because they invaded her privacy while she was inspecting people's yards. When Jennifer, my next-door neighbor, stood up to give her campaign speech, the room went silent. She pulled up pictures on the projector, dozens of timestamps, showing Barbara trying to enter different neighbors' properties, the police reports from her false 911 calls, the threatening letters she'd sent to families with unapproved holiday decorations. Barbara jumped up, her face red. "I was protecting our property values," she shouted, but her voice shook when Jennifer revealed the real bombshell. Barbara had been falsifying inspection reports to target certain neighbors while ignoring violations at her friends' houses. The proof was right there in the HOA's own records. The vote wasn't even close. The new board was elected in a landslide, with Jennifer as president. Barbara stormed out before they could even announce the final count, but not before threatening to sue everyone for character assassination. The first board meeting under Jennifer's leadership changed everything. They created clear, fair rules that actually made sense. Security cameras? Approved. Smart locks? Recommended. And their masterpiece, a no trespass list for residents who had a history of harassing their neighbors. Guess whose name went on there first? Now Barbara has to stay at least 20 feet away from everyone's property unless she's invited. She got caught breaking this rule twice, trying to measure someone's grass height. Each time the new board fined her $500. The funny thing is, property values have gone up since the new board took over. Turns out people prefer living in a neighborhood where they don't have to fear their own neighbors. Last week, I installed a second smart lock on my back gate. As I was setting it up, I saw Barbara watching from her window. I smiled and waved, then used my phone to unlock the gate with a satisfying click. The best revenge isn't getting mad. It's living well and letting them watch. The craziest part? Yesterday I saw a for sale sign go up in front of Barbara's house. Word is she's moving to a neighborhood with higher standards. But here's what she doesn't know yet. Jennifer's sister's on the HOA board in that community too. I wonder if she'll finally learn her lesson, or if she'll just find new neighbors to torment.